Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Brianna, this is Coffee Books and Bullet Journals, and it is time to talk about the books that I read in the month of January. So, believe it or not, January has come and gone. We are 1 month down of 2021, and reading-wise, it was a great month. I actually did pretty well. I read 11 books, and they did, range the complete gambit of star ratings. There's definitely puppies in the background of this. So you're going to hear that they're sleeping, and they are very loud when they sleep. It's very cute, but you're going to hear it. Anyways, so yes, I read 11 books. That equaled out to 3,654 pages. So again, reading-wise, we did pretty good. My average rating was a 3.73, which honestly is pretty good. I think anything above a 3.5 as far as an average is a positive month. So while I did have a 2-star and a 2.5 star and 3-star, then I ended up with 2 3.5 stars, 2 4 stars, 3 4.5 stars, and then 1 5-star. I am being pretty nitpicky with my 5 stars this year for no particular reason, I guess, other than I want the 5 stars to be really, really good. So you might see more 4.5 stars and less 5 stars, but that means that the 4.5 stars are still excellent books, and the 5 stars are game changers. For genres, I read 3 contemporaries, 1 dystopian, 1 fantasy, 1 graphic novel, 1 historical, 1 nonfiction, and 3 romance. Part of that was because I had a secret TBR and I was taking a theme and reading from different genres, so that's why you kind of saw 111. Because I was picking genres that maybe I don't necessarily always read. I listened to 6 audiobooks, I read 3 ebooks, and I read 2 books physically. Pretty standard for me. I will always have more audiobooks than anything else. That's just how I can read the fastest. I work in an office all day, and so I'm able to listen to audiobooks while I'm working, so that's nice. I only had 1 middle grade book, and I only had 2 YA books, which is pretty interesting. Then I had 1 new adult book and 7 adult books. So I definitely started out reading more adult, and I kind of would like to see that trend continue. I don't know how far it will. I'm kind of just letting myself pick things, and there might be a range, but I would like to read more adult books this year, and January did that. I read 1 debut author. I read 8 books from new to me authors, and I read 2 books from authors that I had read before. From an author I had read before. And then a new stat that I am trying to track this year, I had 4 books that were on my shelves prior to 2020. I had 5 books that I read that I put on my shelf in 2020, and then 2 books that I found in 2021. So those are the stats. Let's talk about the books that I read. I'm going to be doing these in least favorite to favorite book, so let's get started. My 2-star read was part of my secret TBR project, so I'm not going to talk much about it, but that was Mr. President by Katie Evans. This was a romance book based on a staffer, or a campaign staffer, and a man who is running for president, and I didn't love it at all. It was a lot of telling and not showing. It was a lot of alpha male, but for being so alpha male, it was very vanilla as far as what they were doing in the bedroom. So unfortunately, it just didn't hit with me. There are parts that were entertaining. I love campaign stuff, and any type of book or TV show, movie, whatever that involves that. So that part of it was interesting. Unfortunately, the part about the relationship, which is what a romance is about, I didn't love as much. So unfortunately, I gave it 2 stars. Moving on to my 2.5-star read, and that was The Residence by Andrew Piper. This was a historical horror that did neither of them well, in my opinion. This is a book about Franklin Pierce's presidency and the ghosts that are in the White House. His son died in a train crash either on the way to inauguration or sometime around it. Then his wife goes through the stages of grief very slowly, not accepting things, but essentially like sets up this child's bedroom in the White House and finds like her son as a ghost, or is able to talk to her son through a ghost. I didn't really know what was going on, and none of it was creepy. The entire reason I picked this book up was because I heard Ghost in the White House. Like, you could do so much with that. This building is such a historical landmark that I am convinced there is paranormal activity in there. But it's not, like, I don't know, he just didn't jump far enough. And so I think maybe if you like historical fiction, this may have been more interesting for you. Unfortunately, historical fiction is probably my least favorite genre, and I don't pick it up. And I was really just in the mood for something to freak me out, and it didn't, and I was bored, and I didn't love it. So unfortunately, it was a miss. My 3-star book was unfortunately one of my last 5-star predictions that I had done like a year and a half ago, and it was back when everyone was talking about this book and everyone was really enjoying it. Since then, of course, I've seen more reviews, and they're not positive. So that is American Royals by Katharine McGee. This is Gossip Girl meets Princess Diaries. Specifically 2, Princess Diaries 2, because they're trying to find Beatrice, is that her name, a husband, and like they're like having to go through people. It reminded me of that scene where they're all in the studio eating popcorn, and they're like looking at PowerPoint slides of eligible men for what's her name of Geneva, Mia. And that's literally what part of this book was. But then there was so much like just drama that was unnecessary. Like one person starts dating this guy, but then her sister actually likes him. And it's just like, it was just so unnecessary. And I didn't care in the slightest. I did annotate most of it. And then like I just started getting bored, and I was just like, I just want to finish this book. So unfortunately, it was just fine. Like, I'm not the target audience for this, and this is one of the reasons why I definitely would like to start picking up more adult books and less YA books, because I think if you were a high schooler, or even, college age, perhaps, this might really appeal to you, and you may really, really love it. I'm 31 years old. I don't care. So this was a miss for me, unfortunately. Moving on to my 3.5-star read. The first one was a graphic novel or a graphic memoir, and that was El Deafo by Cece Bell. And this is a middle grade graphic novel about a girl who is deaf. She gets pneumonia, I think, as a baby, and ends up becoming deaf and has to wear this device strapped to her chest, and then her teacher has like a microphone, and then the device is able to like get into her brain and like basically like allow her to hear what the teacher is saying. This was really, really cute. It was young. I mean, it's a middle grade, and it's like very low middle grade, but the illustrations are adorable. I think that it maybe went a little bit too long. There was like a huge span. I think she went through like maybe 5 or 6 years of elementary school, and it was cute and it was adorable. And I think that if you had a kid who had some sort of disability, whether it be hard of hearing or something else, this is a book that would be really helpful for them to kind of show them that they're like, even though they're special and they're different from everybody else in the class, they still have superpowers. And that was like the whole point of the story, and it was adorable and cute, and I had a good time reading it. My other 3.5-star read was The Circle by Dave Eggers. This is a near future dystopian sci-fi type book. I don't really know what genre to put this in. I put it in as dystopian, but it's like Reed's contemporary, because she's just going to get a job at what is basically like Google on steroids. And it is The Circle, and basically it's incorporating every aspect of personhood, from paying bills to voting to surveillance and everything like that. And it was really interesting. The concept is really fascinating. I am one that really, really enjoys, and I talked about this a little bit in my vlog, I really enjoy books that how do I want to put this? Like, you make one decision about, you give up one freedom, or you make this one decision, and then the whole world turns on its axis. And that's what this book is, because they make one decision. They give up their freedom of, independence or privacy, and like, this is what it becomes. I also really enjoyed the fact that it was a very quiet, subtle commentary on the American workforce, because she was basically being not like judged, but basically judged, because you got in your ranks of like how involved you were with the company, and which parties you went to at the company, and which clubs you were a part of, and how social you were, and how much you were getting your work done. And so it got to the point where this main character was working basically 24/7, and they were able to like, get dorms on the campus and just, they would work a 19-hour day and then go stay in a dorm and sleep for a few hours and then go back to work. And that's just a commentary on where the American workforce is headed, and the terrifying nature of that, because when you have this 40-hour work week, you're almost judged for being, going home in a decent hour and having a work-life balance. And this one just kind of like ramped it up a notch. And that was really interesting. My only problem with this is that it was very obvious that it was a female character being written by a man. And there were definitely some conversations or some scenes, especially when they were like having sex. It was just really obvious that a man was writing it. And I'm like, that's not really how females think. But okay. So that was like my only discouraging thought about it. Other than that, I really enjoyed it. It was a little bit long, which is funny because my complaint with the movie is that it's too short. And this one I think was a little bit redundant in places. So I think maybe they just, when they were making the movie, cut too much out, and we could have a happy medium somewhere. But yeah, I still had a good time reading it. I'm trying to put these back as I go because I don't have any room to like make a stack. My first 4-star read was The Days of Wine and COVID by Elizabeth Berg. This was a Scribd original, and it was an audiobook that was like an hour and a half long. It was super short, but it was really, really interesting. And while we might be a little too close to really dissecting what happened in 2020, this was a really good stab at it. This is kind of a memoir of a person who, like, just an everyday random person who had to deal with 2020 and COVID and the election, and it was so cool to, like, I don't know, just like hear what other people are saying and relate to them, because we all just went through this ridiculous year. And it was interesting. If you are right-leaning in your politics, don't listen to it. The author is definitely liberal and makes that known. A lot of what she was saying was just, spot on. Even down to like how to treat neighbors who did vote Republican. And, what do you do when you voted Republican in 2016, and like how you're trying to deal with that. And I don't know, it was just really fascinating. And I think I listened to the entire thing on my drive home one day. It was very short, but yeah, it was really good. My other 4-star read was a collection of short stories and a novella, and that was The Office of Historical Corrections by Danielle Evans. Like I said, this I think was 6 short stories and a novella. My favorite was one of the short stories that takes place at Alcatraz, and it is about a woman who is trying to get her father's name. She's trying to get him like honorably discharged because he was arrested and sent to Alcatraz, and then they decided that he was not guilty, but he had already been dishonorably discharged. But then when he died, they wanted to change that status, and that was just like the conversation and the fight about, around that. This is all stories about race, and it was really interesting to read it from an outside perspective because there are a lot of things that we just don't understand. or have to deal with on a daily basis. There was another one about a white woman who wore a Confederate bikini on a photo on Instagram that went viral, and then like the backlash that happened after that at her college, and how people were like, her roommate was wanting to get her kicked out of college, or, you know, sent to another dorm because she felt threatened, and because her roommate was black. And it was like, I don't know, it was just very, very interesting conversations, and I highly recommend that you pick this book up. Moving on to the first of my 4.5-star reads, and that is Madam President by Nicole Wallace. This was a book that was definitely the dark horse of my secret reading project, and I thoroughly enjoyed this. I purchased this book in like February of 2018, in like my very first book outlet order, because it sounded interesting. And then I've moved this book 3 times? Twice? I don't even know. Twice. And never picked it up. I think I even had this book on an unhaul, and then COVID happened, and so I never actually went and donated those books. So then I just kept it on my shelf. I found it down in my basement, and I was like, oh, I'm doing books on the White House. I will read this book. And I thoroughly enjoyed this book. This was a ride and a half, and I was engaged and on the edge of my seat the entire time, and it was really good. This is about a female president, obviously, who has decided that they're going to let the press, or like a few reporters, to follow her and her senior staff around for the day, just as kind of like a day in the life of the president piece, I guess. Unfortunately, there's a terrorist attack that day, so it becomes this whole other thing, and we follow the president, the president's husband, I think, the press secretary, the defense secretary, and somebody else that's on the senior staff. And then I think there's partially, like, not an actual chapter from her perspective, but we also are introduced to the president's daughter, who is at college, and is like very active in social media, and so they're trying to like get her to quiet down, I guess. But yeah, it was just so good. Like, this is West Wing in a book, and I had so much fun reading this book. I don't think it's for everybody. It's definitely a book that doesn't dumb down its jargon. This is written by somebody who worked in the White House, worked for the press corps in the White House, and because I watch so much, like, I've, watched almost every White House-centered TV show since the inception of West Wing, I don't think that everyone will get this. But because I am so in depth, at least in the entertainment part of the White House world, I kind of understood it, and I enjoyed it so much. I started out the year reading Talia Hibbert, and so my next 4.5-star book is Damaged Goods by Talia Hibbert. This is the novella that follows A Girl Like Her, I think is the book is called. It's the 1.5 in the Ravenswood series, and it's about this small town romance. A pregnant woman comes back to her hometown because her husband was abusive, and she's done with him. And she meets her high school crush, or high school first love, and they end up in this like cute little adorable romance, and he's like 100% on board with her being pregnant, and it's just so cute and so pure. It was only about 100 pages, so super short, but it was Talia Hibbert, like, she knows how to write, and it's so steamy. Even though it was only 100 pages, the sex scenes were amazing, and yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. My only complaint with this entire book was the epilogue. I didn't like the way she went. I understand it, I just didn't love it. That's my only complaint. So other than that, it was perfect. My last 4.5-star book was Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This was the group book for the Avengers Initiative Reading Challenge for the month of January, and this book was an amazing debut. It was, so well done. The writing is amazing, the magic, the world building, just so spot on. This is an Arthurian retelling-ish. It is about a girl who goes to like an early college program at UNC, and she finds this secret society of people who know how to do magic. And then she finds out that she also can do the magic. And then she's like trying to infiltrate this secret society, even though the secret society is full of racist and white supremacists, and she's black. So it's really, really good. It's so well done. The social commentary is just so powerful. It's pretty in your face, I'm not gonna lie, but it was just done so well and so seamlessly in a way that the author doesn't feel like she's preaching at you. It just feels like it's part of the story. And it was just so good. There were a few pacing issues and things that happened at the beginning that didn't happen at the end that like feel like should have happened. Like there was some things that I think we did have some follow through. That's my only complaint. But as far as a debut, phenomenal. Moving on to my 5-star read and my favorite book of January, and that was Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is the third book in the Brown sisters, with the first one being Get a Life, Chloe Brown, the second one being Take a Hint, Dani Brown. Take a Hint, Dani Brown was my favorite book of 2020, and I knew that this one was going to be amazing. This is the first book that I read in 2020, and it did not disappoint. The autistic representation in this book is so good. I'm not autistic, so I'm not Own Voices. Definitely check out some Own Voices reviews. If I find any, I will link them down below. But I just felt like it was so powerful and so just like it was honest, and like, yes, the main character struggles with it, but it didn't define her. It didn't make it so that she couldn't have a happily ever after, which is something that Talia Hibbert does so well in her books, with anxiety and depression and other chronic illnesses. This was no exception to that. So this is about Eve. She's the youngest of the Brown sisters, and she's a hot mess. Eve is very impulsive, and she tends to quit things when things are getting hard or it's getting difficult for her. And so her parents say that she has to hold down a job for a year before she gets access back to her trust fund. And so she runs into this bed and breakfast and ends up like stumbling into the job as a chef there, and which I think is the most adorable thing in the world. And gets this job, ends up like the meet cute between her and Jacob is just adorable, and I don't want to go into it because it's a little bit of spoilers, but just so cute. I was lucky enough to get an arc of this, and I will treasure it forever. I highly recommend that you pick this up. And I was a little upset that I thought that this was the end of the Brown sisters, but I think she introduced a character in this book that will launch the next series, so it'll still be in the same universe, and I'm so here for this because I was sad that this one was over. This one is a little bit different in its style than Dani. I think that if you preferred Chloe's story to Dani's story, you'll really, really like this one. This one I didn't love as much as Dani's, but I think that was just because I related to Dani and Zaf in such a personal way, but I definitely think that there will be people that relate to Eve and Jacob both in a really personal way, and then this one will do the same thing for them. So I'm really excited for this one to come out. It comes out the first week, I think it's March 9th, if I'm correct. And I'm really excited to start seeing some reviews of this. Those were the 11 books that I read in the month of January. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry it was a little long-winded. I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. I don't know, I've just been in this creative slump for a little while, but there you go. If you would like to, let me know what your favorite book of January was down in the comments below, and if not, just put a smiley face emoji or whatever emoji you want, and I'll talk to you down there in the comments. If you're new here and you have not yet subscribed, there's a little red button that you can do so down below the video, and all of the other links to my social media will be in the description below if you would like to be my friend on any other platform. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye. Makes this heart beat faster.